Happy lunchtime, everybody. Hope you're eating something delicious today. I've taken a little walk away from the courthouse to fill you in on what happens this morning. It's been an eventful morning in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial. Detective Duncan appears to be feeling better and took the stand. I asked him before he went up there, how you doing? And just in passing, and he went, you could tell I think he's a little bit sick. By the way, there's a live musician playing the guitar down there in case you hear some music. Detective Duncan, I'm actually going to move over here to sit on these stairs so I'm not in the way. His main testimony thus far this morning has really focused on what was in the iCloud, Lori's iCloud, and the text messages between her and Alex and Chad Daybell. We saw the beneficiary form that Lori apparently took pictures of after Charles died and sent to Bubby, who is Chad. She took a picture of the original life insurance form that showed she was the beneficiary. Then she took another picture of the policy details, and then she took a third image of a computer screen showing that the beneficiary had been changed. So she sent those all to Bubby after Charles had been shot and killed. We also saw some text messages between Lori and her brother Alex the night before the shooting, where the Nephi text message, I will be like Nephi, you need to stay close. They're planning an intervention. And then we saw the fact that Alex and Lori were texting. Well, first of all, he called her 2 minutes after Charles was shot, or 2 minutes after his phone left the property. His phone left the property with Lori, and then he called her 2 minutes later. They spoke for less than a minute. Then he called her again, and then he called 911 after that, as Charles lay on the floor, on the ground, bleeding and dying. So the detective walked through all of that. There's only 3 witnesses left for the state, including Detective Duncan. So they're kind of bringing in this memorable evidence, these memorable conversations, the things that were Lori's own words through text into today's testimony. And after lunch, Detective Duncan will be back on the stand. It'll be interesting to hear Lori's cross-examination of him and whether she decides to take on some of these pretty damning text messages, things that appear to be pretty damning and might not really help her, or she might just avoid them altogether. And then after her, we have Detective Duncan is done, there'll be Detective Nate Moffat. And then there's one more officer, I believe, from the police department, Hunsaker, at least that he was on the original list. It's always possible that the state changes up their list. They did say yesterday that they could wrap and rest either today, tomorrow. The judge hinted maybe Monday, but I don't know if they'll quite wrap up today, unless Lori has no questions for these witnesses and they're able to buzz through them. But there's a lot of information that's on the iCloud. A lot of this, if you follow the cases in Idaho with Lori and Chad, it's not real new. It's obviously brand new for the jury. They're hearing all this and have to be wondering, having a lot of questions. But for those of us that have followed it, it's not new, but it's interesting to see it all come back together again and see how it affects the Arizona charges for the conspiracy to commit the death of Charles. That's where it really, is interesting. And then we'll see if all of this information comes out in a few weeks in June during Brandon Boudreaux's trial. So that's what's been happening here. There are a couple of seats left for the public. Not a big crowd today. Decent sized crowd. People that have come from all over the place. I met a woman from Indiana. She's here. Utah, Idaho, a group from Idaho. In fact, one of the teachers who received a grant from Tammy Daybell's foundation. I interviewed her 2 years ago at Lori's trial, and then she came to a few days of Chad's, and now she's here. She has since retired. She wanted to come to this trial, so she is here with a friend, and they are find it fascinating to be inside the courtroom. I think that's it. I think that's all we've got. So Detective Duncan on the stand. You can go read the recaps. A lot of you are watching the trial today on our channel. I just have to thank you for that, for supporting East Idaho News. And it's a beautiful day in Phoenix. And if I worked downtown, I'd probably come out here every day and just hang out with the beautiful buildings, the beautiful trees and bushes. I mean, I could do that in Idaho, but I hear it's quite windy. Okay, we'll keep you updated. Follow along, eastidahonews.com, Courtroom Insider tonight. I'll break it all down. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Always looking for unique and interesting questions, and happy to address as many of those as I can, along with our shout outs and our cities. So everybody, have a good lunch. We'll see you. I'm going to head back to the courthouse and continue on with the afternoon. Thanks for watching.